don't forget ko-fi.com/stopwritingalone is a real simple way to show your support for what's going on here week after week. Hi everyone, this is Nicole Rivera and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast for writers who are looking for their writing community. I know you want to find readers for your work, but I think your first step is to connect with other writers. That's what we're going to do here in the Stop Writing Alone podcast. We'll do writing prompts and other writing group activities, discover online writing communities, learn how to find local writing groups, or how to make your own. Join us as we explore, learn, and write. Hi, this is Nicole Rivera, and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast. Last night, in a chat with the Happy Campers, I stumbled upon a metaphor that I feel bears sharing. And it surrounds the conversation of critique and how critique works and what it is exactly and what I hope people see when they think about getting and giving critique on their writing. This whole idea of assessment for growth has been on my mind for about 2 weeks now, from my son getting, experiences with tests for the first time in first grade, to my husband as a teacher now experiencing, being observed in his classroom virtually for the first time, to the Happy Campers now engaging in critique in the Stop Writing Alone community. And at every turn, every single time I'm faced with this, I keep getting faced with nerves and stress and all of these feelings that I think come from a really long tradition of any type of assessment being seen as some sort of punishment in a way. Like, mistakes are wrong and wrongness feels wrong. And last night, when I was talking to some of the people in the group about my concern over everyone getting stressed out about the critique, if I was just trying to settle it in my head. I'm like, I don't want everyone to feel like this is a thing that has to be done perfect. I don't know. It just seems like at the mention of critique, everybody gets very stressed out, and worried about the reading, and in both directions. They're worried about receiving critique, but they're also worried about giving critique. And so it hit me. And now I'm going to probably make some of you hungry, but I'm going to go down my metaphor train, and it involves food. And it involves my comfort food. And I think it involves my comfort food because I was digging deep in my brain to find a metaphor to explain how to get comfortable with critique. So I'm a mutt through and through. My 23andMe DNA output will show you a myriad of different things. But on my father's side of the family, it is 100% Sicilian. And so I was raised very much in the menu of a Sicilian family. And one of the things that probably runs through my veins is my grandmother's marinara sauce. That, of course, she cooked for me. My mother then cooked for me, and now I cook all the time. And I have the recipe. I have it written down, but I know the recipe, and I cook it a lot. So I really do know what this sauce looks like, what it tastes like, what it smells like, even what it feels like. Because, yeah, there's different textures in sauces, and I like mine to be a certain way. But every single time I make the sauce, even if I think it's perfect, I still manage to put a spoon into the pot, bring it over to my husband, ask him to taste it, and I ask him the question, does it need anything? Do you think it needs anything? This action, this bringing of the spoon to my husband and asking him this question is critique. This is the process of critique. What he tells me about his spoonful and his taste of the marinara sauce is his opinion. And it's based on how he likes his sauce to taste. So he's going to tell me if he thinks it should have more pepper or oregano or basil or whatever, right? I don't ask him for his opinion too soon. I wouldn't give him a spoonful of the sauce, when I just poured the tomatoes into the pot. And after he gives me his opinion and his taste, I still go back and taste it again. And I make my decision just based on all of the information, what he said to me and what I think as to what I'm going to do next before I serve the sauce. This is exactly how our writing critique goes. We have a piece of writing. We know what our story, poem, essay, whatever it is that we've written, we know what we want our piece to taste like, smell like, feel like, all of those things, sound like. We know it. We've got that all up in our head somewhere because we've experienced this story and we've experienced writing and reading enough that we have a full body picture of what it is that we want. But at a certain point in the process, it is incredibly valuable to dip a spoon into our writing, to hand that writing over, a piece of it, to someone else and ask the question, does it need something? And they can give us that feedback and we can do whatever we want with it. Now, notice that when I talked about the sauce, I'm putting the spoon in and sharing it to get some feedback on it. I did not say that I brought the spoon over to my 6-year-old son. And I didn't bring it over to my 6-year-old son because he does not like pepper. So at this point in his life, he is not a good taste tester for my marinara sauce. I can make him one that is good for him. But if I want to know how this sauce tastes for me and my husband and grown-ups who like pepper and flavor, I can't ask him. If I wanted to make a sauce for kids, then I'd ask him. So in critiquing our writing, we want to make sure that we have people that sort of get our vision, or at least our writing style, or at least understand the things that we're looking for. And if it is a first-time critiquing experience, you can do that by saying, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. Does my opening work? When you read this, are you hooked? Or is there a different place that you think I should have started? Are you concerned about dialogue? You can say, can you read through the pieces with the dialogue, just extra focus? Can you tell me, does that need something? Is there a continuity of voice? Is it clear when one character is speaking over the other? Do my characters sound different? Those questions, as you give them to your critiquer, will help them to know, exactly what you're looking for. But in essence, this whole idea of being, I don't want to say being nervous about critique. Everybody's going to be nervous about any critique at any point. But there has to be like an understanding that we're all here to sort of share the meal, right? So just like when I ask my husband to taste the marinara sauce, it's to all of our benefit, because it's not going to help him to not help me in making it taste the best that it can be. And so it goes with our critiquers of our writing. There's nothing in it for somebody who's reading your writing to not answer the questions that you've asked, to not help you make your writing better. This is like when we get to this point where we have the trust built and we are critiquing together and we're reading each other's work, it's a mutual engagement to make the story itself better. Your story, the way you imagine it, the way you want it to be. And all the sort of rules that I kind of think should be in place when dealing with critique apply to the marinara example. When I give my husband the spoonful of marinara sauce, I'm asking him about the sauce and sauce alone. I'm not asking him about me as a person. I'm not asking him to critique every me as a cook. It is literally about what is on that spoon. What do you taste? What does that need? I don't want to hear about, what you think about my process, about how it got there. And he wouldn't dream of doing that because the question was so direct. There's only the spoon there. Both directions, when you are doing critique, you should only give critique about the writing, not about the writer. And I know I've spoken about that almost ad nauseum, right? But also when you receive critique, and this to me is the harder bit, when you hear critique from someone else, you've got to remember that it's just about the writing. And that's hard. That's really hard. But if my husband says to me, it needs more pepper, I don't go back into the kitchen thinking, what an idiot. How did I not put more pepper? I know it needs more pepper. What was I thinking? And I'm laughing thinking about that because that's absolutely ludicrous. But when somebody gives me critique on my writing, it's really hard not to do that. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And it's only through practice that we sort of get over that. So really, I want you to when you engage in critique, think about this process of cooking and tasting, adapting the meal so that it comes out the best way possible, and that you're doing all this work before you put it on the plate and serve it, which is, us putting our writing out into the world, whether it's just sharing it with readers or going out into the publishing world. We're doing all this. We're still in the pot when we're doing all this, right? And like I said earlier, we don't start sharing spoons and asking people, what does it need when we're just getting started. I don't saute the peppers. I don't saute the onion and garlic and then give my husband a spoonful and say, what does the marinara sauce need? Because he's going to be like, it needs tomatoes. And I'm going to say, I know it needs tomatoes, but what else? That's the equivalent to me of asking for a critique when you're on a zero draft or a first draft, because people are going to come back to you with critique and responses of things you already know, right? So the timing has to be right for your writing. It's not finished necessarily, but it's finished enough, right? You've got all your ingredients in the way you think. You've had it cooking long enough that things should be, coming together. And that's when you say, one last bit before I put this on a plate. Can you taste this for me? Tell me what, in your opinion, does it need anything? And then pull that information back and then take a taste for yourself and say, no, I think it's all right. You tell me it needs more pepper. I taste it. Yeah, maybe a dash. You might be right about that. Let me put a little more pepper in before I put it out. So, that's my ridiculous metaphor for the week. That is where my head is at this week. I'm all about critique, but really, really making it a yummier experience overall, because everybody wants it. Everybody wants to do critique. But I love this path that I have been on with my writing and with writing community, where it's really all about just my growth as a writer, getting my writing better, and I don't want it to be full of stress and heartache and heartbreak. It's there are going to be natural places where that comes in. Rejection is not easy. It happens, but it's not easy. I don't feel like critique is one of those things that should feel punitive in any way. If somebody tells me, my writing needs a little something, I want to be able to not feel hurt and just say thanks, and and incorporate that into my process of writing. And hopefully I continue to do that. So far, it's been okay. It was obviously a lot harder when I was just getting started. And I'm really hoping that everybody in the Happy Campers Club has like a really smooth and fun experience with this critiquing and reading and sharing of each other's work. But you as well, wherever you are, if you are writing and cooking up stories and you're looking for the next step, just think about it this way. Who do you want to be the person that takes that spoonful, and who do you trust? And go for it. Go for it in a way that doesn't feel like this is going to be painful. It's going to be fun. You're going to just start cooking with somebody else. You're going to stop writing alone. That's it. This is really like the easiest sell on Stop Writing Alone. But I want it to be just as uplifting as every other part of the Stop Writing Alone experience, as, setting our goals together and accomplishing them, writing together, having writing prompt parties. All of this stuff is fun, and it's still vulnerable. It's all vulnerable and scary, but fun. And critique should be exactly the same thing. So that's what I'm going to be doing tonight, talking to everybody in the spring session of Happy Campers Club, getting everybody jazzed up to be excited in their vulnerability. And so wish us luck. And go ahead and go make yourself some marinara sauce right now. I think that's going to be happening this weekend, now that it's been on my mind so much. But have a great week. Thank you, as always, for listening. And if this wasn't enough for you and you want to hear even more, I'm going to direct you over to the Creative Ways podcast by my girl, Emma Isaacs. So Emma's podcast, you've heard me talk about it before, and Emma is one of my behind the scenes, like, mastermind group, the Voxer sisterhood that we created. Really, it's been years now. But this is my creative backbone. Emma's podcast, the Creative Ways podcast, turned a year this week. And to celebrate the birthday of her podcast, but also her birthday, happy birthday, Emma, we all got together. And that's we all is me, myself, Kim Floden, Claire Oldham West, Joanna Peralta, and Emma Isaacs. And we did a podcast episode, Emma hosted, talking all about how we got together, how we work together, how we lift each other up in all of our various creative endeavors of entrepreneurship out here in the world wide web of it all. And it was so much fun to record. I love these ladies. I talk to them every single day, but we did a face-to-face Zoom call and really just went down memory lane with it all. So it's a great listen. So head on over to Creative Ways Podcast The host is Emma Isaac. You want to look for episode 52, Find Your Tribe. But while you're there, look around. Amazing podcast on creativity. Emma is an artist, and she's got so many different people from her work where she does design, and other big names like Andy J. Pizza and Susie Moore she's interviewed. I mean, really, really fantastic stuff. But Creative Ways Podcast, Emma Isaac, go check it out. That'll give you more to listen to this week. Otherwise, I will see you back here next Thursday. If you haven't reviewed the Stop Writing Alone podcast, I would greatly appreciate that. You can review it wherever you listen to podcasts. And also, don't forget, every single Friday over at the NV Rivera YouTube channel, I am sharing writing tools, writing exercises, writing prompts. And this week is our writing tool of the month. It's the first week of March, so you're going to want to come check out a writing prompt tool. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You're going to have to go check it out. Have a great week. Again, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you next week. Happy writing and happy critiquing. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the Stop Writing Alone podcast wherever you're listening to this episode today. Then connect with us on Facebook at Stop Writing Alone Facebook page or in the Stop Writing Alone with Nicole Rivera Facebook group. Check Instagram or Twitter where I'm at NV_Rivera to find links to our email newsletter. Recording, hosting, editing, producing. It's so much work. Disaster has struck. I finished my coffee. Tell me coffee is coming. ko-fi.com/stop writing alone.